You know who loves a good planetary alignment? Cult. We've got friendship and synergy in reverse. The frequency of synergy supports our allowance and acceptance of the not so obvious, never seen before combinations and unions that result in new ways of functioning, working, thinking, relating, loving, and being. What a long sentence. It reminds us to embrace the unfamiliar so that new yet exciting co-creations can give birth to a new reality. And friendship is very 11th house as well. So that's where or I guess the way that I'm interpreting this is kind of a rejection of Aquarian energy, of innovation, because there's a big planetary alignment coming up, starting today, the 15th, and it all goes exact on the 20th, but it's Barbault's basket. And there's a lot to unpack with that one. I'm just kind of getting the vibe that it doesn't necessarily have to be an actual cult. It can be somebody or somebody's kind of acting culty. Could be part of a cult. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a big one. There are lots of smaller cults around. But just a group that is overstepping their boundaries. And let's see what about. Like, what is this issue with the Aquarian energy? Because I was kind of just thinking about the last reading and how all those cards came out, all the Saturn cards, and it made me think of the cube of Saturn. That's something I hear about often in terms of it's got something to do with various cults and things like that. But I consulted my tomes and I didn't actually find anything. That doesn't mean it's not a thing. I might just not know where to look. But I can't find any origins for it. The other thing that came to mind, though, was Black Cube, that private spy group that was part of the Harvey Weinstein case with Rose McGowan, like got a unpublished version of her memoir, like before it came out, and all these things. And so I don't know if you're trying to innovate in some way and somebody's really clinging to that status quo, and it does kind of fit the celestial weather. There's a lot going on in that Barbault's basket, but the Neptune-Pluto sextile specifically is kind of where I'm getting that, like, don't trust the scary unknown, don't go into the future, stay in the light where we know how things are, and people have been getting exploited and things like that. So yeah, true alignment, very Aquarian. That's what they have an issue with, your true alignment. You're not here to carry the weight of every broken system, but to be the truest, clearest version of yourself. That alignment creates a frequency that challenges fear, dismantles illusion, and sparks awakening. And that's that Neptune energy, like the Neptune and Pluto, dismantling illusion. And I was kind of getting overbearing family from this. I think I got that in the last reading too. But Sagittarius, 4th house, and Venus on the dice roll, that kind of like, don't venture out into the world, don't go be a rock star, go be, you know, a traveling hippie, something. So it could be that, just could be a not acceptance of who you are, which that's not a healthy environment for you. If you're not able to be your authentic self, that's suppression. So we'll get some tarot out. Got the Dark Crystal Tarot. This has always felt very Aquarian to me. So what else about true alignment? But that just combination of kind of that black cube energy, overbearing family. I know these things happen in family court too. Like if you're trying to separate from someone, it could just be someone's social media stalking, right as that clock chimes. But trying to do anything and everything to go against your agency, what you want for life, like completely overstepping, where they have no authority. And we have the Wheel of Fortune, and it's in reverse. I don't think this is going to go the way they want it to, actually. I don't think this is bad fortune for you. This is like, have you ever tried to get a cat to do something that the cat didn't want to do? That's precarious. There's some hazards involved in that for sure. And it's like, I don't know, like a false equivalency. Like, yes, your cat doesn't want their nails clipped or to go to the vet or things like that, and you have to do that despite their protesting because it is best for them. This feels like infantilizing. Like an adult saying to an adult, oh no, I know what's best for you. How? You don't listen to me when I talk. How would you even know what's best for me? Not even acknowledging me as a person. So what about this Wheel of Fortune? Four of Stones. Four of Swords in reverse. Not rest. Vigilance. And maybe not hypervigilance, but more make sure your boundaries are solid. Because if, say, you've gone your own way and it's been a while, maybe somebody's trying to pop in and brush past the things that have gone on in the past that, like, maybe caused the division in the first place, and time is not an apology. That's not how that works. A lot of people seem to think that way. Either that or just are trying to see if manipulation will still work. Not every manipulator is the most creative person in the entire world. It'll just be the same playbook, like over and over and over. Because the Aquarian energy, that's the innovator. And then Sagittarius, that's the lesson, the sage. It's like leaving the traditions of yesteryear behind to try and go into the future. Maybe it is that larger conversation a lot of people are having around estrangement and things like that, and from all different perspectives. It's a newer topic that's being brought up a lot in the general discourse. And people can get really overbearing, because when the adult child separates themselves from the family, it starts raising questions. Like, wait, what actually happened? And people who are antagonistic don't like being exposed. That's a big escalation point, and that can be the overbearingness. And I think it would be an invasion of privacy for anybody to be hiring, like, a spy or like a PI or something to look into somebody simply for going their own way. We've got the Ace of Shards, the Ace of Wands. This is the Dark Crystal. This is like, if you haven't seen the movie, which I highly recommend, it's one of my favorites. And despite me not being able to remember the little ones' names. But this dark crystal, they're basically trying to extract the youthful energy, it's like the fountain of youth, proverbially, and use that energy to stay alive, the Skeksis, the villains. And maybe that's some kind of role you are playing in this family structure. It doesn't have to be your family of origin. It could be found family, a group of friends, the 11th house there. Could even be like a work family, something like that, which, boundaries. Work is work. It leaves a lot of room for dysfunction, not being clear about those things. And maybe you are escaping being the energy source, being the food source. It's like being the therapist friend with no recognition. You're always helping other people solve their problems, carrying their emotional weight. But then what about not only the emotional weight that you're carrying of theirs, what about yours? And then it doesn't get reciprocated. Maybe you got fed up because there was a lack of synergy, potentially. That imbalance pouring out and not receiving. And so maybe there are some illusions trying to be cast about that, and that's what makes it culty. That trying to go against someone's free will, trying to capture them within the system. And there's what's her name? Daniela, the knitting cult lady. She escaped a cult called Children of God, and former Army intelligence officer, like cult expert. I was listening to one of her recent videos and she talked about exit cost. I don't know a ton about that concept, but it sounds interesting to me. So maybe that's what we're seeing play out, is like some sort of exit cost that you're really trying to separate from a system and not being allowed to. And then that Neptune-Pluto dynamic, it's like casting illusions over what caused you to leave. So what's that illusion? What is the illusion? It's being cast over the real reason. Nope. I'm just gonna go with the bottom one. A little cluster there. Soulmate? In reverse? Interesting. The symbol is symmetrical, no matter which way you hold it. So a not soulmate? And soulmate, that can come in many forms. I think the first thing that comes to mind is romantic love, but it could be platonic soulmate. Somebody trying to come forward like, oh, let's just bridge this difference, whatnot. Like, I am done. There's nothing to bridge anymore. This isn't a punishment. These are boundaries with my past and my future. We're done. And I don't know, it can be really easy to get caught in the never enough game, because very likely, in most cases, you've explained yourself multiple times. If you had to leave suddenly for your safety, maybe you had to ghost. No judgment. Keep yourself safe. I think a lot of people are really not understanding of how bad things can get behind closed doors, and how bad these dynamics and how pervasive they can be in your psyche, of things that just are not healthy that are passed off as like not that big of a deal. And over an entire lifetime, once that gets woven into your expectations of interpersonal dynamics and things like that, it can feel like escaping a cult. Like a lot of the hello, my little princess. But I remember some of the things that like woke me up to how bad dynamics were things about cults. Like the mechanics were very similar. Like the authoritarian leader at the helm, don't poke the bear, walking on eggshells and things like that. Like the amount of control that's actually exerted over the environment. Like, nope, I'm not going to be the one to try and fix all that. It's so far out of my hands. So what about this soulmate? And what if you have major, I'll take all three. Why not? What if you have major, value differences, principal conflicts with your family, like generational differences that can lead to pretty significant gaps in social attitudes and things like that? What if they're just unbridgeable? What's the other term? Irreconcilable differences? Like, what if they don't accept LGBT or your faith practice or something like that? That's not negotiable. And I just saw this card, which I usually pull out before before a reading. It's the instructions card that came with the Illuminati Oracle, and it's got starting questions and a few spreads and stuff here. So maybe that's important. Instructions of some sort. But we have anchoring light, surveillance state, and leaving home. There we go. Anchoring light. No system, no elite agenda, no chaos can dim the radiance you carry within. Shine even when the world demands that you hide. There's that Aquarian energy, and it's got that same like rainbow. So maybe this is something to do with LGBT. Maybe you came out and that wasn't accepted, or you knew you couldn't come out until you went your own way. Yeah, there's a lot there. And surveillance state. The state of surveillance is tightening its grip, using data as a means of control. Cultivate practices of digital discretion and be mindful of the information you share. So I think a good practice is if you've come from a difficult family dynamic, dysfunctional, there was probably a lack of boundaries. So somebody might have access to your passwords, things like that. Change your passwords. So many of us don't do that often enough anyway. Maybe that's just a good reminder to change your passwords, And I see a lot of people, especially in the tarot community, that will have like a following on social media, whatnot, that they're going on vacation. Wait till after. Your time is your own. Hi. Your time is your own. Your schedule is your own. And that's just a good safety tip that I've seen around for like social media. Like, don't advise that you're going to be away from home. Wait till you're back to share your vacation photos and stuff like that. So, leaving home. Sometimes the world shifts so deeply that the only choice is to move with it. When the land beneath your feet no longer feels stable, movement becomes survival and opportunity. Living that nomad life for a little bit. maybe feeling uprooted. I'm kind of confused as to how that connects to soulmate, though. Like, is someone gonna try and hop on your wagon? Like, oh, I finally see things your way. I want to go with you. It's like, yeah, no, this is one person little dinghy or whatever. That just, I don't like that. And that the instruction card came out, because people can be really overbearing and like talk to your friends behind your back under the guise of concern, when really that's a boundary violation, when you've already set boundaries with them. But then I think it's what is that, triangulation, maybe, that they leave context out and are getting into situations where you aren't there to clarify things. So, what about this soulmate connection? Tell me more about that. Because this is the illusion over the division. What about this illusion? The Tower. That they didn't have the role in the destruction that they did. Maybe some gaslighting going on. Happens for sure. And that cults do that too. Gaslighting. And it's like anything and everything to preserve the group and like trap everybody in the group. Or maybe they want to escape a tower. Maybe a tower that's a result of trying to hold on to the family battery. What about this tower? That could be the Pluto-Neptune angle. That leaving home, being true to yourself, not dimming your light, leads to destruction. And I mean, that's part of the life, death, and rebirth cycle, is the tower. Because what comes after the tower is the star. And you need that clearing away to make room for the healing of the star card, for all that that brings. And that card is a lot too. And that's the Aquarian energy. Oh, maybe trying to interfere with reaching that star status, whatever that means for you. Because that could mean, I think what comes to mind is like celebrity, like fame and fortune and all that. And it's your own personal celebrity, doesn't necessarily have to be on that grand scale. It could be, I don't know, running a cat cafe or something, or running a inclusive tattoo shop, something like that. It doesn't have to be this like traditional, uncreative ways of helping the community. It's for the things that like people would blow off, like inclusive tattoo studio. Who cares? What if they're trans? What if they're not comfortable getting undressed in front of somebody that they don't know if they're safe around? I have lots of tattoos. I think everybody deserves the opportunity to get one if they want one. Or however many they want. Whatever. and to feel comfortable doing so. And the more comfortable and relaxed they are mentally, the easier the process that'll be on both the art and the artist. Because their body won't be so tense and the healing won't be so bad. But maybe the structure that you're trying to get away from is more traditional. It's like if it doesn't fall into the, feed the poor, picking up litter, things like that, then it doesn't matter. Not that those things aren't important. They absolutely are. It's just that limiting view and not embracing innovation. We have Knight of Stones, Knight of Swords, the reckless hero. It's like somebody coming in to rescue you from yourself. Again, how infantilizing. And I think it's restrictive on the voice because I have that like anxious, like throat tightening. If you've ever experienced that, kind of like the top of your chest will get a little tense, tight. So it's like this group, it's restrictive to your voice. And maybe you've tried a bunch of times to talk to them about it. And surveillance state, that's kind of giving me mirroring. When people mirror your language, your interests, things like that, to like get a foot in the door. So maybe you post online, maybe you do something like this, maybe you have a YouTube channel and they're like taking tips, which, I mean, if you're sharing helpful things, that could be helpful. It's like, use these powers for good, not against somebody exercising their agency. Because if you have to manipulate somebody back, oh, there's the star. But if you have to manipulate somebody back into your clutches, it's like, here's your sign. We've got the star in reverse and the page of vials, page of cups. It's creepy. It's like faceless. It's like the faceless messenger. Like the page of stones would be more the spy card, gathering information, but this is like illusion, hidden, kind of hard to see against the background. And then the star in reverse is, it's like whatever your star quality is, that not being able to be actualized. And maybe you are a rock star, something like that, musician, and you do have that potential to go big, but then you have all these doubting voices. That's the problem. It's not that you don't have the talent, it's not that you don't have the ability, you don't have the support. And going your own way, even if it's lonely, that can free you up, so at least you're not being suppressed. Still, I would say support would be advantageous. I'm so glad I finally watched these movies, but those Enola Holmes, I really like her character. But it was, I think the second one, her mom said something like by yourself you're incredible, but with others you could be extraordinary, something like that. It can be a long transition, though, to escape the clutches of the past, to even get to your future. That liminal stretch can be fairly long. So what's the bridge to the other side? Like, how do we get over there? Because there's a lot of opinions on this celestial transit, that this could be the prize after all the suffering of, like, the pandemic and things like that. There could be a lot of technological changes, decentralizing. And that could be a theme that's carrying through on both, like, a micro and macro level. That, like, decentralization is scary, and you won't have the support of the big institutions. Like, last time I checked, I'm the footstool. I'm the support that's not getting what I need. So I'm gonna go take my chances, because I know what's in the past. I know how I've been treated, and I know how hard I've worked compared to the not results. So off I go. Try something different. Just see what happens. Take both of those. So we've got guides and time, both in reverse. The time card's interesting. Guides and time. And this looks like the Aquarius symbol. It's got an extra row. Because the hourglass, it's symmetrical. Kind of like the soulmate card, but one side has the sun, one side has the moon. I think the nodes are changing. So that could have something to do with it. Celestial timing is the bridge to the other side. Or this is happening now. You don't need a guide. You don't need time, because it's go time. It's right now. Maybe. What about that? The homestead? Simplicity and abundance flow naturally when life is lived in rhythm with the land. A homestead is more than shelter. It's a declaration of independence from fragile systems and uncertain supply chains. But it came out in reverse. So the more nomadic, maybe you're doing like freelancing for a bit. Kind of whichever gig that you can get. Because sometimes it's about finding the next stepping stone, not about making the next 10-year plan. Especially if you're trying to escape something. Sometimes the furthest you can look ahead is the next step. It's just kind of the nature of those things. And if it's family, work, they could be restricting your resources. The very thing that you need to leave. If it's some sort of inheritance, how many of us aren't getting what we earned? I think there's a lot of people in that position. Something like that. Or maybe this is like a threat. If you try to leave, we'll take you out of the will. Like, see ya. I'd rather have my free will than this money lorded over me anyway. I'll figure it out. And that's very much a... Like, if you're going to try to control me, yeah, I'm better off alone. I am better off on my own with my agency. I'd sooner be a free woman in a one-bedroom apartment than a controlled woman in a big house. We've got Seven of Swords in reverse. A strategy seen. Because the Seven of Swords, that's the stealing most of the weapons from the warring camp ahead of the battle in the morning. So do you see their strategy? Time could be rushing something. Maybe some sort of legal paperwork regarding an inheritance, so that you can't seek counsel, guides in reverse, trying to rush that timeline. And something else I was thinking about with that transit, right as this clock chimes. So the Neptune-Pluto sextile, that can cause those feelings of perceived or actual loss of direction, loss of faith, very vulnerable points in our life. And that is when people will jump in and take advantage of others for one reason or another. It could be to participate in like a financial scam. MLMs also came to mind, the multi-level marketing, like you pay in all this to the inventory, you recruit people. And yes, some people in the pyramid do in fact achieve success, but not everybody. And a lot of people get stuck with a lot of inventory and things like that. But also cults, whatever size, some sort of group. Because it doesn't just have to be like a religious cult. It could be a cult of an idea. A cult behind a leader for some reason, some sort of common cause. So trying to get you or somebody's involved in something shady, like something that's at your disadvantage. I don't know if it's like, I don't know, legitimacy of timeshares and things like that. But something costly. So what else about this Seven of Swords? What about the Seven of Swords? Nope. Thought about it. Ten of Swords in reverse. Skewered. Trying to get you caught up. Because the Ten of Swords, that is my favorite tarot card. The only way from rock bottom is up, and now I have all the swords. Being skewered on the bottom, though, that's a pretty rough position to wriggle your way out of. But maybe that's the strategy that you're seeing. That there's some sort of just trying to get you caught up in something. In what? Caught up in what? Lots of swords. Conflict. Five of Swords. Trying to get you caught up in a conflict. If you've been keeping your space to maintain your peace and they want to fight. Maybe this is part of some sort of reputational damage, like the reactive abuse. Don't show the abuse, but make sure everybody sees the reaction. Because if it's an inheritance, it's like a cliche that people will go after others' mental health. And so maybe they're trying to make you look volatile for some reason. But then it'll be under this guise of, well, we're just looking out, we're worried, we're blah, blah, blah. You just want money. And maybe you're just seeing that for what it is. Because if you've been able to extract yourself from a dysfunctional system, whatever the context is, now you're not caught up in the illusion, wrapped up in the veil. And it'll be a lot easier to see the mechanics, the Oz behind the curtain. Not to say you aren't vulnerable to regression and things like that. It happens for sure. Those emotional attachments and what have you. So just be mindful of that. That you could get it could be very inflammatory getting into a conflict of this nature, you know, a familial one with a system that you have escaped. Might take some low blows at you. So boundary up as much as possible. If this is like a legal thing with an inheritance, communicate through the attorneys. I don't see any reason why you'd have to do otherwise. Now, if there's like co-parenting and stuff like that, yeah. But that wall, written communication as well. Just avoiding the opportunity for he said, she said sort of stuff. So, what is this conflict that is being brought forward? Because there is some conflict energy in this transit, this basket. And maybe you want to check out your chart to see how those 4 planets are lining up for you. Because they're all lining up at 4 degrees in their respective signs. It's like Neptune, Pluto, Jupiter, and Uranus. So lucky. The conflict is that you're lucky? Or that's the perception? Maybe it's that gap between the work and the result. And receiving inheritance, decidedly not lucky, because you probably had to lose a family member for that. Like, that's very callous to frame that as lucky. But if you've been working on something for, say, a long time, trying to pursue your rockstar dreams for a long time, and you finally get a break, then maybe it'll be like a dig, like, oh, you're so lucky. No, you did the work. That's insulting to characterize it as luck. You earned it. It's one of those like backhanded compliments, things like that. So what about this luck? What is the luck regarding? That Daft Punk song just came to mind. Get Lucky. It's a good song. So lucky about what? Weather modification? What? The atmosphere is no longer solely nature's realm. Advances in climate engineering give select hands the power to change what falls from the sky. The question is, should they? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. The Jurassic Park test. Maybe you are getting a position of influence or something, or maybe you're an influencer, like online. Maybe they're characterizing your following as luck. And I think there is a degree of luck to the algorithm. That doesn't mean you put in any less work, though. Because the algorithm is what it is. And maybe you are like me, and you want to do things as you want to express them, as opposed to how the algorithm would prefer to see them. Because I think there's an advantage to if you're showing your face, for sure, for how more quickly that you'll gain an audience. But I want it to be about the cards. I want it to be about the message, like an exercise in essentialism. And I don't know, I'm not trying to gain numbers. I'm trying to reach the right people. So maybe that's something, there's some sort of distortion around that you should be doing things a different way, or I don't know. And everybody's got an opinion about everything. So maybe you've been operating at kind of a low cruising altitude, but now that you've gained some traction, there's going to be criticisms and such that come forward. I'm a yapper. I can yap. I'm a long form reader. Not everybody cares for that. Sounds like I'm just not the right reader for them. And I think that's important in the Aquarian energy, no matter what you're doing, is to maintain the soul of it. To not bend to the expectations of the algorithm, of the marketing, of things like that. Not to say there isn't room for improvement and constructive criticism, welcomed, invited, solicited, constructive criticism. But it'd be like somebody coming out with, I don't know, a business offer, something like that. And it's like private equity. Takes all the good out of something and just extracts all the capital out of it. But then when you look over the agreement, it'd be like losing the heart and soul of everything you've ever built for some coin. I don't think that's the right move. Not for the long term. And who says you can't try random things in the interim to make ends meet? I think it's a little harder than it used to be. Gig economy, things like that. But who knows what you could learn along the way on little stepping stones. We've got Two of Swords. Two of Stones. The obstacle. The you shall not pass. Not quite clear as to what that is. Maybe these are naysayers, haters, which some of your worst haters could be in your family. You'll never make it, just get a real job, whatever. Varying degrees of that, however it's presented. Because it can sound like very reasonable concern when really the core message is give up on your dreams. But then it might get reframed as, no, we're not saying that. We're just telling you to put everything down to focus on something else. Well, one of these things is not like the other, actually. And who says you have to do the same thing your whole life? That's advice for a world that doesn't exist anymore. So what about these Two of Swords? People just don't get paid enough. Not getting rewarded well enough to stay in place. Got the Eight of Gems. Eight of Pentacles. Is this the first pentacle? It is. So this is taking a long time. That's where some of this doubt is coming from. Doubting your luck, doubting your ability to influence things, doubting your ability to modify the weather, you know. Trying to convince you that you don't have the influence that you do have because you haven't been able to make the money you're looking to make, or whatever it is. But that's the Eight of Pentacles. You had to go all the way from the 1 to the 8 to get there. It takes a long time. It's the Earth suit that's the slowest. But that's the conflict, I think, trying to get you wrapped up in, trying to convince you to doubt yourself. Maybe you've got enough emotional distance from this system, this group, that they can't influence you to doubt yourself. So got to get you to do it. Got to convince you, like gaslight you into doubting yourself. A little passive aggressive digs, things like that. And it's different if somebody, you know, is expressing legitimate concern. I think there's a lot of context there, though, if you have separated yourself from someone and then they're weighing in on your business. But the Ten of Pentacles, that's the ultimate material everything. That's like generational wealth. I think it's going to be all right. And it might be a longer, slower burn, but being authentic to oneself, the yield on the other end of that, I think, is so much higher than if you settle for predictability, for stability, for the expectations. And are they expectations you even want? Because if, let's say they don't accept LGBT, they're probably not accepting of non-traditional, like, relationship models, things like that. And I don't know if you've ever been in an argument with somebody that's kind of trying to get you to make concessions on who you are. Like, oh, well, we'll accept you, we'll tolerate you if you act this certain way. It's death by 1,000 cuts. That's not... There's no way to make that dynamic healthy. That's just suppressing and controlling you so they don't have to deal with whatever it is making them uncomfortable. They don't want to get with times. They don't want to maybe deal with some internal feelings, even if it's just curiosity that they didn't want to face. But people will try and control others so they don't have to face their own stuff. You don't have to put up with that. You don't have to tolerate that. It might feel like, it might make you feel like a little kid dealing with these arguments, but remind yourself that you are the adult. And you might be the adultiest adult in that room because you're not trying to control anybody. And maybe that's a transition they're having a hard time accepting, which is their problem. The fact that you're an adult, if they can't accept that and respect your agency and autonomy, that's not viable to me. Like, we all have to make our own choices, for sure, for your own situation, but I can't tolerate that. If there's any degree of suppression, repression of my authentic self, I'm out. Because that is so antithetical to, like, I'm an Aquarius rising and a Pisces sun. That's a cage that I'm just, like, whipping around in. Why would I stay there when I can be myself? And I like my own company. And that might be uncomfortable for some people that you're dealing with, that you would prefer your own company than return to the homestead. Again, their thing to deal with. Give your pet a treat. I'm sure they'll like that. Maybe something cool. Let me see if we can get a song. But, like, I have those tube treats for my cat. Little popsicle. Put them in the freezer. I think cats get brain freeze, though, so you want to be careful. I don't know about dogs. I assume. The Gray. Bad Omens. Be careful what you wish for. It's a good song. A cautionary tale of, I got, what was it? I got all I want and all I wanted was more. So how, maybe if your luck does pan out, hopefully, with this Ten of Pentacles, whatever it is you're trying to work towards, cautionary tale of don't let it consume you, especially if you've been in a drought for a long time, which I think a lot of us have. I think have been in a drought for a uniquely long amount of time. Yeah, because I saw it's not a meme, but like an infographic earlier of the different percentages of like how cost has outpaced wages by, it's like 18% or something. And it's just like those financial threads that all of us are trying to use to survive get stretched thinner and thinner and thinner. So, you can treat it like, it's kind of like dehydration. If somebody's been out in the sun or something, they haven't had access to water and they suddenly get access to it, slow down the drinking. Like, we know you need it. It's not going anywhere. We know you haven't had it. And you're going to make yourself sick if you intake too quickly. So it's being aware of your shadow and your vices, things like that, so that when the harvest does come in, you don't consume it all at once. So overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates, and if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.